Good morning and welcome to Kitty Talks. We share inspirational life stories, encouraging you to create yours. And today I have with me the beautiful Lilou Mace. Hello, Lilou.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Joining us all the way from beautiful Paris.
Yes, it's starting to get sunny here.
Summer is on its way. For those of you that don't know, Lilou is amazing. She's a French-US author. She is a web TV host. And Lilou, I'd love to know how many hits your website has had. Because last I looked, it was something like 42 million, but I'm sure that's probably out of date now.
Yeah, I think it's over 50 million. It just keeps on growing in many different languages too. So not only in English, but the different past years it's been growing throughout Europe, and people have been translating and subtitling in Japanese, in Korean, in Romanian, in Hungarian, in Spanish, and Italian. So it's been growing. I'm not counting anymore. I'm just like, let's do those videos and let's spread out.
And Lilou has got the most amazing life, traveling around the world, interviewing people. Like you are an incredible inspiration to me. So thank
you. I love traveling. It's a combination of just doing what I love, asking questions and traveling. And the Juicy Tour started many years ago.
And how does it feel to be? Because like we touched on this before we started, but I said, how does it feel to be on the other side? Like, you know, obviously it's always you interviewing people generally. And
it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's also a good thing to be interviewed, because when I'm on the other side, and this happens more in France with the different books coming out, and because I'm more active now, I live here. But it's very interesting to be on the other side, to just have it's like journaling, or it's nearly therapeutic, because I can just see where I'm at. The questions are always interesting, and then it just helps me to. It's very complementary to doing video blogs and interviewing. It's just the other part of being on the other side, as you said, and learning more about myself and the new things that came through and what I've learned. So it's like doing a little bit of a summary, or observing where I'm at. So it's cool. It's a good moment to share.
Absolutely. So I'd love to know a little bit more about your journey, really, because obviously you have been doing this for, goodness, 10, maybe possibly 10 years or so. How did it all start? Like, you know, I think you and I have a very similar philosophy on life, you know, that people should follow their passion and purpose and do what lights them up on the planet. And I would love for you to kind of share your journey with the listeners about how you started on this journey and how you got to where you are today.
It started really from not finding a job coming out of college and being a young graduate and not finding a job over in France. So I moved to the US because I thought it would be different in the US. I thought it was my mom the problem. I wasn't the problem. So I left and I flew into the US because I'm dual citizen. So I thought, okay, my life is over there. It's going to be much easier. French people are they're too much into their heads, analyzing too much and criticizing too much. It's their problem. I'm leaving. So then I arrived in the US and I had the same issue. I was just not finding the job I wanted. Things were not clicking. There was no flow. There's just nothing happening. So synchronicity. I mean, there was my ex-manager from England where I used to do an internship, came over to Miami, and I was ready to leave Miami and go back to France. Nothing was happening there. And she told me about a workshop, about an event, a seminar. And there I was participating in the first one. And that created such a breakthrough, such an opening. And I just was so curious about everything after that things started opening up. And eventually I started video blogging and interviewing and putting all these things online. But the main thing and what has set everything up was with two friends of mine, Sandy Grayson and Laura Duxter. There were two authors in the US. We decided to start the 100-Day Reality Challenge. And then I started video blogging as I was participating in one of the co-founders. And more people were tuning in, listening. And then I declared stuff like, I want to meet Oprah Winfrey, and here I was meeting her. I want to create a show, and here I was. I want to do something similar to her, like spread the information and share this kind of information. And there I was interviewing and started broadcasting. And before you knew it, I was doing this Juicy Living tour around the US, Mexico, and Canada, and more people were listening. And I was just following my flow. I was following my intuition. I was following the guidance. And of course, huge leap of faith, it took me a lot of courage in many different ways to do those interviews and to share them. It's been so rewarding on so many levels.
And at what point, because, at what point did you really think, oh my goodness, I can actually make a career from this? Like, because it's a huge step to go from doing something, like that to then, okay, this is who I am in the world. What point did that happen?
It's actually a very good question, because it was not on a career perspective. This was my soul calling. It was clear to me that this was something deeper, and it was not anymore about the job and my personal life. It was just who I was. It was an expression of who I was, that soul, my essence, that needed to express itself and live that it was unconditional. So it was not about making a living from it or doing it full time. It was just something I had to do. And at some point, life took me, I lost my job in the UK when I was director of marketing in February 2009. I was still doing the videos after work. And life just threw me into this and said, hey, now it's time to do it. And I had no idea. So I went through many different steps, including having no more money, having to go many years ago back to my parents because I couldn't afford any more living in London. And I literally crashed. I mean, I at the age of 32, now I'm nearly 40, but at the age of 32, I had to do a major reset. I knew I didn't want to be a director of marketing anymore. I wanted to do videos on YouTube, but I wanted to write books and interview people and all this, but I didn't know how. So I had to open myself up to a co-creation with life, literally, and be guided and do my part and let life do the other part. So something started to set itself up that was very different from the way I had set things up or done before, because I have a lot of energy. I can set things, reach goals, but that was never satisfying to me. So it started from that point on from the point on when I lost my job things started to switch to be more and more an expression of who I was.
It sounds to me like you totally transformed the way you live life. Like, is it fair to say you were possibly pushing towards goals before and now you're more in a receiving flow energy?
Yeah, I'm more into emitting, receiving now, and knowing the big step, it was to reopen my heart to life and to know that I deserved, and to trust and to listen to my intuition and to the intelligence of my heart, and to see that this was gonna lead me to the good places. Before I was trying to make choices with my head, and now I do a combination of both. So it was very much about trusting and about going with this flow and setting intentions and then receiving and knowing I can receive even more. So little by little, life through the interviews and doing workshops and participating in different things and breaking up and opening up to new relationship and, general life. But I was calling for it. I knew there was something. My soul wanted to live something big. I could feel it inside. So it was then a matter of not only declaring, but receiving. And I think that's the biggest part, is that we give ourselves permission to receive.
Absolutely.
And it's not that easy, because it's being open and trusting and totally acting. I mean, being in action, but also in a place where you know that the best is coming to you because you're totally deserving of this.
Mm. And for people listening to this interview, your way you've lived or living your life is incredible. What inspiration, or what advice would you have for somebody who, they know that there's a bigger calling in their soul, they can feel that, but maybe their life doesn't look like the way they want it to look? What kind of steps can they take towards, making the shift that you have done in your life?
Well, I think it's important to do to reflect and take a possibility is to take like a journal or something and start writing all the frustrations that you currently have with where you're at and things are not moving, and all the challenges that you went through in this. And then after you write that, to read it from a soul perspective, to just read it, okay, why did I have to go through this and what can I learn from all this? So starting to learn, to do really a bilan, as we say in French, to just look at what happened and what can I learn from this on the soul level. And then I think it's to make it happen, you have to dare to declare and change things in your life. So it takes, I always say, but it takes tremendous courage, because we're into the illusion, into the dream, into the fantasy of what it is. But truly, you have to, put up your sleeves and go. It's like, it just doesn't like fall from the sky, though it's absolutely incredible and miraculous when you follow your soul guidance. So it's like, they all speak about that, all those teachers, how we have to remove the layers and unpeel and be. The main thing I found out, is to be authentic with ourselves, to be true to ourselves. This is why it's important to look at your frustrations and what did you learn from it, and okay, what's the real picture now and where you want to go, and just open to something big, but let life show you how you're going to fulfill on that calling. Like you could set the intention of, I want to know what my calling is. I want to fully live it on earth. And then without knowing exactly how it's happening, you navigate through life like a kid would, like just looking for signs and adventures into making that. Because sometimes we want to do videos for the wrong reasons, or interviews for the wrong reasons, or conferences, or it just has to be very pure. The purer you are about it, the more it's a soul calling, the more life is just there to support, and then you just transport it. And I think the sign that you're ready in your life mission is when things just flow naturally and things click really quickly, especially now. It's like boom, 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 it comes to you. There's no resistance. And that's what I look for now in life. Like, if there is resistance, if life is, this means it's not for me right now. So I go where it's flowing.
That's a beautiful and such a simple advice, go where the energy is flowing, like you said, where there's no resistance.
Well, though I create and I emit, I say what I would like to experience. I don't say how, but I say what I would like to experience. And then if I see there is a resonance, it's like my heart opens, and then I would say yes to that event without looking at the person's resume or what they have done. I'm drawn to work with this person, or I'm drawn to do an interview or work with this person as a team. I don't know why. Like, my intellect is more now to organize things and to, but not to take the lead on where I should go and why. And all these are definitely intuitive hits.
And would you say, by the sounds of things, you're feeling into it rather than thinking into it? You're feeling what just feels right for you, and then following that beautiful flow.
Totally. And it's the same for bigger things, even moving to a different city, or choosing a person to interview, or going on holiday somewhere, or participating in a seminar, creating a conference, or whatever it is. It's just like that simple. But in order to get to that, I think that kind of resonance, and know for sure and feel inside this subtle energy, we must open our heart. There's no other way than reopening the heart. It's something that all human beings, all individuals need to do the work, because otherwise you cannot access the subtle, the multidimensional, all the rest of the information that you can access as a human being, the communication with the non-visible, all that tremendously changed my life and tremendously helped me. And you need to call it, but receive it. And in order for that, the heart needs to be fully open. Otherwise, you don't get that kind of information.
So obviously people can journal, like you said, release some of the frustrations to start unblocking their heart. What other things can the sort of normal human being do to open their hearts?
To open their heart, to release the illusions of separation. So whatever separates you from others, say that you're better or different or less, or, whatever separates, then that needs to be let go. So whether it's meditating, whether it's spending time in nature, whether it's doing something that makes you feel good, taking care of yourself, loving yourself, they all say it, instead of looking for approval, give yourself approval, give yourself that soft gentleness in the moment where you're doing it the human way, you fucked up, how you're going to receive that, how you're going to be with that, with your humanness and your yuckiness sometimes. And this makes the whole difference, how you're going to receive that and how you're going to react to a certain event. And the more kindness and love you're going to get yourself, the more kindness and love life is going to give you. It's just a perfect mirror. And it's that simple, but it's not as simple to do it and to live it. It takes courage, and it takes for going beyond the resistance of the ego that is there to protect. So whatever it takes, and I think it's up to us to find what it takes. It's not so much a recipe. It's about being engaged in life and wanting to live a truthful, authentic, beautiful, magical, extraordinary life. So what it really means, that not like the glamorous, I live in the castle and once I'm there, then all is set. No. But what's beautiful is that then life is just so abundant. My God, it's so abundant for all of us. It's all the resources, for the Juicy Living Tour. And after that, we're provided, because I just set this donation button, which was the answer at the time. I'm not saying it is now the answer, but this is, at the time, it took me courage, because this didn't really ask for money to do what they love, including traveling. Yeah. And especially in France, when people were looking at me in a kind of not weird way, but just like, what is she doing? She's begging for money. But I was not. It's just, I didn't even have to ask, actually, truly, for donations. People were supporting naturally. And after that, the donations started to slow down, but then there was something else that came in. And again, it was always shown to me as a challenge, so something I didn't like and didn't want to face. And then, but because I receive it more and more with gratitude, whatever was presented to me, and trusting that life was good with me, which was the major breakthrough, then the more I was seeing the gift in that and then transforming it. So then I started giving conferences in France, and people were abundantly coming. So I was filling up huge rooms, and then I was learning to speak in public, and then the courage to speak in front of people. I mean, that was a big step for me. But then I was supporting my channel, and then more ideas came in, and it's just like it transformed itself, But I'm sure that we're the one that say, I deserve it, and not as I deserve it, but just as a natural, beautiful thing that life has to offer.
And it feels like you've basically totally surrendered to the flow of life and the universe, especially with the donations button, because you're completely living in a space of you don't know what's coming or what's around the corner. You're just surrendered to trusting that the universe is going to take care of you, which is
at the time it was very much, I hope somebody's going to give a donation because I'm going to pay the next now. It's like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to continue one more month or one more day? I mean, that was like really interesting, when you dare to do something for yourself, like daring to do this tour with not enough money, definitely not to do the 12-month tour, but I declared I was going to do this 12-month tour, so I was committed to it. And I bought a computer, and then the money of the computer just came in my donation PayPal account. And then I was just giving myself a little bit of a better room to be more comfortable with a better Wi-Fi, and boom, the amount was coming right after that. I was honoring myself with, I don't know, a team or somebody that will help me, and boom, the money was showing up afterwards. So I had to trust. It was like always quantum leaps. And at the time I was huge because it was my 2 suitcases. I'm like, oh my God, I know my soul wants to do this and I'm excited. I'm having a ball doing it. But you're stressed with the reality of your bank account.
Yeah.
And it little by little it changed. So there was more money flowing, and then it was not a matter of, okay, do I have enough money to live? Because I was sufficient. I felt like I had enough to do what I want. So my needs, the minimum needs were met. So then it was the more of the real, not the real abundance, because that was abundance too, but just in an extraordinary, but it was completely related to how much I was opening myself up to receive, and I deserve this. Is crazy. Wow. It's looking back and looking still at everything. It's just like Mickey, he's like with open arms. It's like we want to be magicians in our life. It's like totally opening up to receive. I mean, he's looking up and opening his arm. This is the attitude. This is the practice.
Yeah. And I'm really intrigued, like how you operate on a kind of like monthly base. Like, do you operate on a monthly basis? You don't really know where you're going month to month, or how far in advance do you know your schedule, basically?
Yeah, I very much, I think we all are asked to have an open schedule to be with the flow of things and to be able to catch waves that are coming. But also the reality is that there are books coming out and there is things to plan and trips to plan. And people ask me a year in advance to participate in things because my schedule is super packed. So it's like, how do I not pack it totally, but leave time for myself? And so it's like setting time in your schedule for yourself to take care of yourself, because that's something I didn't know back then when I was doing the tour, how to take care of myself. And I would do 6-7 interviews per day, and I would just like one after the next. And I was in the flow, and at the time I had the energy for that. But now I found the right balance between, okay, and I need to also, I feel and I want to take care of my well-being. So I'm still doing a lot, but it's a fine combination. So I'm leaving some space for, I first of all, I only say yes when it really, truly resonates. Like it really, truly feels great in my body, my heart, my body opens up. It's a yes. If it's a, I don't know, I don't do it. If it's so it's like very big intuitive hits. And that's grown since for the past 10 years tremendously, especially co-creating a book with Sonia Choquette that wrote 30 books on intuition. You can imagine.
Yeah.
We wrote a workbook on intuition. So it's like, oh my God, it's really living. It's something that is so palpable, the intuition at some point. I mean, it's so there in your day to day that I only say yes to things that are truly aligned. And whether it's an interview, a conference, or a place to go, it's only truly yes. So then there's not that much in the end, because it's not like you have, even if I get 10, 20 propositions a day, it's not like you want to say yes to everything. No. It doesn't feel, it feels like there's a string attached to one of them. Somebody wants to use you in the other one. You feel like the other one is going to ask you, I don't know for what after. And it's like truly the unconditional requests from the universe, or people asking me requests, are rare. So I only go for the unconditional as much as possible, where I'm feeling free, my spirit is free, and I feel that there's nothing that so I go for that. And in the end, they are, but there's not. So then there's only that much in my calendar. And then the rest is like Sonia Choquette inviting me to come and join her in Costa Rica in her beautiful home to spend 5 days. So we decided with my boyfriend to fly to Costa Rica at the last minute, like a week before we decided to go. We had that time free.
Right.
It's unbelievable, but it was there. And, it's like that, just only saying yes for things that are really meaningful. And sometimes we just have to hang in there, because nobody has proposition for us, and there is time of silence where we have to create everything. And this is where we can give freely. This is a time when nothing moves for us, or when we start a project, to learn and to know what can we unconditionally give out to people. What do we do that fulfills us, like nurture us, regardless if there is a money attached to it or not. Giving.
And you alluded to it earlier, but what would you say is happening? Like I feel things are speeding up on the planet. You know, the rate of transformation, the number of souls awakening. Kind of, can you feel the difference in your 10-year journey? Like, describe that to us.
Yes, it's very interesting because I love, traveling, and I do travel a lot. And so I'm in contact directly with the co-creators around the world. Like, I meet them, or I interview people, and I get a good feeling for what's going on in the country. So at first I had to start doing interviews in the US, because this is where I would get the information, and then spread it. And then in France, it was very much behind. So it was slow, and people are not waking up, where I see in the US, oh my God, people are so open. So I would get interviews in Canada, in Quebec, for French people, because they're so much more open. Here I was broadcasting information from Quebec to France for French people, to see people that were daring to speak about all that. And it was happening this way. And now in France, it's like blossoming, and all throughout Europe, old France, my God. And if here people are opening up, and they're opening up so fast, it's like, it's unbelievable what I'm seeing. And now I created a conference for Americans and for foreigners here, like Joe Dispenza, Nassima Ramain, and people like that, or Sonia Choquette. And I create conference in Paris for them, because the French people are so thirsty for all this information, and it's so beautiful. So I can definitely testify that, if there is, it's people want to feel good, feel free. There's so many burnouts in France. People are burning out from each end. I mean, it's crazy. There's like crashing. The regular jobs are crashing. People are losing their job. I mean, it's like two planets. Dolores Cannon had told me about this in an interview. She was this famous guy now, but she was this famous hypnotherapist, spiritual hypnotherapy, and she had those patients that were speaking things through deep hypnotherapy, telling that the planets were going to divide. Like, planet Earth was literally going to be two planets, and that there would be a planet of love and of fear. And I don't think it's physically happening, but I feel surrounded by people wanting to co-create, wanting to love, and it's day-to-day choices to be only surrounded by that. But I feel that we're more, and we're so many, we're millions and millions. And just like, where we all want to discover what it takes to live these fulfilling life that will impact humanity. I think we all had that calling to come as soul at this time, to help and support people in their transformation. I mean, we're all in this. So it's up to us to create new techniques, businesses, way to do things. Everything has to be recreated from the standpoint of love and abundance and transformation, and resourceful for people to grow into this. So there is so many things to create. It's our calling to just liberate that song that is just ours. Nobody else can do this. Nobody else could have done what I've done, and nobody else can do what you do. Or it's like, we all have something unique, and that's life tells us that if you listen, it's just a matter of being open. And I'll tell you.
Yeah, beautiful. And the vision for Kitty Talks is to inspire a generation of change makers to follow their passion and purpose and make a difference on the planet. So obviously, by listening to your journey, just to inspire somebody else to live in a completely different way. So really beautiful. But I'd love to know a little bit more. You also told me you're working on 3 books at the same time. Tell us a bit about those.
Well, there is the 100-day challenge workbook. So in France, because I had met the people in interviews, there's some people I prefer, like or people I really clicked with, like Sonia Choquette, for example. So I decided to create a workbook with her to develop intuition in 100 days. So there is 100 exercises each day. There is an exercise. It's like a journaling. It's a place where you would tell an exercise, and then you would put at the end of the day what happened and what you have learned and understood. So it's a direct application of all these books, basically, but putting it in action and seeing your life transform. So this is doing well in France. So then I created the next one is I co-write it, and that's the one I'm writing with my dad. My dad is a chef. Now he's nearly 70, but he had a French restaurant in Santa Barbara in California, where I was born.
Yeah.
And he is passionate. He's the spiritual one in the family. So he has always told me about the energies of flowers and of food and of you name it, and talked to in tomatoes and told me about meditation. But so we were co-writing a book that is about eating consciously. And so it's 100 exercises to live consciously, to have rituals in food. So to bring spirituality and food together, so that people change their way of eating and relating to their body and listening to their body. So this is one of the ones we're working on. And there's the little deck of cards. I love using cards, and I always use cards from like angel cards from Doreen Virtue and all that. So we created also in France. But this is why I'm saying I think at some point I will go back to the US and the UK and all that to have these also available in English. Because right now they're only in French, but these little cards, there are 100 cards, and you ask questions, and there is all the different elements, or the tree, or the fairies, or the unicorn, or the stones, or the winter, or the wind and the water, that have a message on that day. So you ask a question and it's an action behind. So it's a very simple, it's all based on cartoons, because I've always had this little cartoon of mine on all my mics when I was interviewing. And this is all the workbooks and all the cards, the deck of cards are set that way with this kind of fun. Even kids play with them, and it's just fun and creative. So back then in 2010 or something, I had attracted Linda Mangoro, that is a fantastic graphic designer
who lives down the road from me. We're neighbors.
Well, I love Linda, and she has created cartoons, and I work with her day to day, and we create many things together. She's an amazing artist, and I've never stopped creating with her, and more than ever now. And so I work with her. So the team is like, it's funny to see how when we attract people, it can be very, especially now, it's international. So we have a lot of fun. And then the third thing is a testimonial book that is coming out too. It's in French, but I really want that one to be translated in English too. It's 100 testimonials from 100 or so testimonials on, because, I wrote my first book was called I Lost My Job and I Liked It. Yeah. I was in England and I lost my job, and I decided to write a book, and I self-published that book, and then it was published in France. But the I Liked It is a series. So I propose on Facebook, I asked on Facebook for French people to send me their own story, a page long of I Like It. And people sent me, oh my God, stories like, I was bulimic and I liked it. I was raped by my dad, and I I understood the outcome. Like people with, oh my God, like I have an handicapped kid and I like it. Or handicapped brother, or like some wild stories from the society to death and coma and all. So these stories are whoa, and they're a page long, and this is being published into a book. Also in May, June, like all of this is being published in May, June. I'm with the same publisher in France that I'm with since the beginning. And we want now this is part of the next phase, but to have these books and cards and all that in other languages, in other countries. So this is the next step now.
Right. Global.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much for listening to Kitty Talks. Be sure to head over to our kittytalks.com website, become a member of our exclusive club, and you'll get free interviews and access to our private Facebook group, exclusive webinars and secret success interviews. See you there.